Reppin' Philly ain't a choice. It's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 20th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy hump day to everyone out there. And if you're keeping score at home, good news. The AC was working when I got back from the conference yesterday. Slept much better last night. So feeling good today on a What If Wednesday. Before we get into that, let's go to the Phils. And this is exactly the type of game I was talking about. 6-4. They win the series against the Mariners, looking for the sweep this afternoon. But it's the way they won. Christopher Sanchez was outstanding, played within himself. Third time this season he has 12 strikeouts. Kirk Green was shaky. However, JT picked him up, and that's what they're going to need this entire season. It's basically a sprint now to the end of the season. They're going to need to just pick each other up. And truthfully, it's probably the way they should be playing, have been playing all season. However, it's a long season, ebbs and flows in a Major League Baseball season. It's tough to bring that energy every game. The old saying, that's baseball. But I think with everything that this team has been through this season, rough, emotional week, this is what they need. They need to pick each other up. And that JT did it last night as the Phillies beat the Mariners. Bryson Stott went deep. Kyle Schwarber hit his 44th home run of the season. And I like the fight. Everybody's going to need to step up. But this team, one thing they've done consistently for the most part all year, they don't give up. They score a ton of runs late. You can never really count them out. So that, to me, was the perfect, this is what they need the entire rest of the season. And as far as our vibe check yesterday, the question of the day, 43% of you are feeling good. It was pretty split, but majority of you are feeling good about it. And I think you should be, especially after seeing what happened last night. That's the way you got to go it. And let's go for that sweep today before we go to the Nationals. And then there's a big series early next week against the Mets. Could decide the division. So let's get on a nice little roll here before we take on the Mutts. Jesus Luzardo on the mound today, weather permitting, but I have a feeling they're going to do everything possible to get this game in since Seattle is not coming back anytime this season. But good win for the Phils. That's what I'm talking about. Let's keep it up and just pick each other up because somebody's going to slip up here or there. Let's get it done and let's do this. Lots of injuries piling up in Eagles camp yesterday. Drew Makuba was limping off the field, didn't tear, but hurt his hamstring. More concerning, Johnny Wilson was carted off the field, got his leg rolled. Hopefully it's not worst case scenario with a knee. John Mechie practiced yesterday, seemed pretty well, got in there with the first team. So maybe you can never add too much depth. I still think that Howie isn't done yet. We're going to see a lot on Friday night. Hopefully the cornerback 2 spot is solidified. Safety now with possibly Makuba missing some time with a hamstring. So lots to look for on Friday night as they take on, I think it's the Jets. I feel like they always play the Jets in the preseason. I should have written that down. But 2 big spots on that defense looking to get solidified on Friday. But that does lead to today's question of the day. What's the biggest concern with this team? We haven't really talked much Eagles, saving us a lot of that for the pregame show we're going to be doing. But what is the biggest concern? Is it Jalen, the defensive line, cornerback 2, or is it something else? The Super Bowl hangover, some miscellaneous thing that we're not thinking of? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Let me know what your biggest concern with the Eagles is this season. I think it's the cornerback 2 spot. I think somebody's going to come in and take it, but you got to step up and take it. But that is my biggest concern. But let me know on the Back to the Future voice and text line, any of my social media. You can hit the Discord channel, which is the first link in the description. But big preseason game, final preseason game on Friday night for the Eagles. And then we go live. Dallas, September 4th. Looking forward to it. Let's do some quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Let's outsmart the algorithm. And if you're a new listener, haven't done that yet this week, welcome. We are glad to have you. I mentioned the pregame show. Once I get back this afternoon, I'm going to start working on some things for that. So details are coming. Yesterday's trivia answer was all about Jamie Moyer, and it just worked out nicely that they're playing the Mariners. He was traded yesterday from the Mariners, but I asked which 4 teams does he have 20 or more wins against? Could have gone 25 or more wins for, I should say, and that is the Mariners, Phillies, Cubs, and the Baltimore Orioles. That was the one that seemed to trip people up the most. But thank you for everybody who participated in that. Good old Jamie Moyer, Sellersville's. Oh, I mentioned this earlier, but it is What If Wednesday. What If Wednesday is brought to you by Lotwin. Get your 3D custom height chain. Go to lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off of your order. Fantasy football seasons are starting. This is the time to get those chains for your winners and your losers. You can get very creative with that. Email them. They'll work with you. But use the promo code TCCPOD and go to Lotwin for your 3D custom hype chain. I mentioned this last week, but 13 years ago this month, the Sixers announced the signing of Andrew Bynum. If you remember, they were at the Constitution Center, big blockbuster trade, 4 teams. Andre Iguodala got traded, and everybody was super pumped, super excited for the potential. We knew he came with a lot of risks. But hopes were high because at that point, the Sixers were in what I call NBA purgatory. They were 7-8 seed, 9-10. There was no play-in then. So they were right on the cusp of a low lottery pick or a low playoff seed. So this really had everybody hyped, myself included. You know how I feel about the Sixers. I was pumped for this. For some reason, I thought this time was going to be different, but we all know the story. His knees were shot. He was going over to Europe to get plasma shots, and then ultimately ended with getting hurt bowling. Still don't know how you get hurt bowling, but hey. But for What If Wednesday, what if those injections would have worked? What if he didn't get hurt bowling? What if he actually had played for the Sixers? Could it have made the difference? You got to figure he was only 24 years old at the time, coming off a season where he averaged 19 points, 12 rebounds, and he was supposed to be added to the young core of Thaddeus Young, Drew Holiday, and Evan Turner. Was supposed to be sort of the difference maker in the middle for them. He could have basically been Joel Embiid before Embiid was Embiid. Sixers certainly could have been contenders in the East. That was the time of the big 3 down in Miami. LeBron, Bosh, and D Wade. But if this pans out, there's no process because there would have been no Sam Hinkie. There would have been they would have been a consistent playoff contender. So they would have had some mid to late round picks. Maybe they hit on some of them. But I think the biggest key was if this worked out, they would have been consistent playoff contenders and could have if things worked out and he played the way that he was capable of and he did before the knees just started to deteriorate, could have given Chris Bosh some fits. So I think the Sixers certainly could have been in the mix. Would they have gotten over the hump and beaten the Heat? That I don't know, but I certainly think they would have been at least in one conference finals. And there have always been questions about his knees and how many games is Bynum going to play, this, that, and the other. But essentially, I feel like if this had worked out, maybe a slightly better Embiid era before the Embiid era. There certainly would not have been the process and the Embiid era if this worked out with Bynum. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they could have broken through? I mean, I think it's a very feasible thing to think that maybe they catch the Heat at one point. I think Bynum certainly could have given Chris Bosh a lot of trouble just with his size, and you've seen it when he was on, he was on. But we all know how it worked out, and essentially, I do feel we would have had the exact same era just a few years earlier. Questions about a big guy with questionable knees, deteriorating knees. But at that time, when they announced it at the Constitution Center, I was all on board. But what are your thoughts on the Andrew Bynum thing? What if it had worked out? Could the Sixers have broken through and beaten LeBron's Heat? I don't know if they could have consistently, but I think they may have been able to sneak in one year. But let me know your thoughts on that. Back to the Future voice and text line, social media, Discord channel. It's definitely a good thought-provoking question because he came in with the hype, and when he was healthy, he was pretty damn good. But the knees were just too far gone at that point.
This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, the clashingconferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's clashingconferences.com, where fans' voices get heard.
Let's get to our top 5 of the first 25 years of the century. Today, we're going to talk about the top 5 Phillies teams since 2000. Pretty easy list. They all, for the most part, come from one of two eras. It's kind of shaky the beginning part of the century, but some honorable mentions. The 2007 NL East winning team, the team to beat, as Jimmy Rollins proclaimed, proceeded to go out and win the MVP. The 2023 team came in with high hopes. Did get back to the NLCS and had game 6 and 7 at home. I think of all of the times the Phillies have come short since 2000, that one stings the most because you're not supposed to lose a playoff game at Citizens Bank Park, let alone 2 of them when you have 2 shots at it to go to the World Series. But the 2023 team is an honorable mention. 2006 team, going to give them some love. We've been talking a lot about them the past few weeks. Went on a nice little run, really came together, the core, after trading Bobby Abreu, finished 3 games out of a wild card, but sort of set the stage for the 2007 season. And I'll give some love to last year's team. They were very fun, a very good, dominant team for about the first third of the season, and then it all kind of fell apart. We don't need to go into what happened at the end, but I think they were one of the better teams, certainly deserving of an honorable mention. But let's get into this list. The top 5 Phillies teams since the year 2000. We're going to go 2010 at number 5. Roy Halladay came in, made the difference, pitched a perfect game, no hitter in the playoffs. And then unfortunately they ran into a red hot pitching staff for the Giants in the NLCS. But the 2010 team is our number 5 all time since 2000 for the Phillies. Coming in at number 4, the 2022 team. That was a lot of fun. It goes back to the roots of this podcast. It was a great time to be starting this. Phillies going on that magical run to the World Series. The Eagles were doing well, but the 2022 team, and I mean, the beginning of that World Series, you have to be feeling good with the way they were hanging, going blow for blow with the Astros, and then they got no hit, and it was all downhill from there. But that's our number 4 team. Number 3 team, the 2011 team, set the team record for wins in a season. Dominated pretty much from start to finish, and then to stop me if you've heard this before, couldn't get the bats going in the playoffs, losing to the Cardinals in the NLDS, and we all know that signified the end of the era when Brian Howard's Achilles ruptured going down to first base. But they did have the most team wins in team history, so we'll go 2011 team at number 3. Number 2 team, you could have flipped these two, but I think the 2009 team was way better than any of these teams. They just came up just short, and a couple calls one way or the other in the World Series, couple plays go differently. They might have gone back to back, but the NL champion 2019 with Cliff Lee, Chase Utley played out of his mind in that World Series. They are our number 2 team since 2000, and the number 1 team since 2000. It's obvious. Nobody was even close to this. The 2008 World Series champion team. So much fun that whole entire season, the entire playoff run. So we'll go 2008 Phillies as the number 1 Phillies team since the year 2000. Now it's your turn. Who's too high? Who's too low? Is there anybody that I left out? I don't think you can put anybody else really on that list. You can make the argument possibly for maybe the 2007 team, but did I leave anybody out? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, social media, Discord, anything, but let me know who's too high, who's too low, and what are your thoughts on the the top Phillies teams since the year 2000. All right, and then finally today, what happened this day in Philly sports history? August 20th. Let's go back to 1961 and kind of a bittersweet day, I guess. Philly scored 4 runs in the top of the 8th inning in the second game of a doubleheader to beat the Braves 7-4. They lost game 1, but the win in game 2 ended the modern Major League Baseball losing streak at 23 games. Just, again, at least it was over. They would actually go on a nice little 4-game winning streak after losing 23 in a row, but this win on this day in 1961 was their first since July 29th. They went almost a month without a win, but the losing streak was over, and that is the modern losing streak record held, unfortunately, by our Philadelphia Phillies. Fast forward to 1986, the Phils beat the Giants 1-0 in 10 innings when Juan Samuel homered in the 10th inning. It was the second time in team history at that point, that the Phillies won 1-0 in extra innings on a home run. But the story of this game was Don Carmen. He was perfect through 8 innings before giving up a leadoff double in the 9th to Bob Brenly. Struck out 9, but it was Juan Samuel coming through in the clutch, winning the game for the Phils with a homer in the 9th inning. And then kind of an oddity, I guess you could say. Let's go to 2020. Phillies lost both games of a doubleheader against the Blue Jays. Remember, it was COVID, so the doubleheaders were 7 innings. But because of COVID, the Blue Jays had to relocate to the United States. Canada had stricter restrictions on travel, so nobody could get in. So they played their games in Buffalo, and it was the first time since 1885 that the Phillies had played a regular season game in Buffalo. Wasn't fun, though, as they lost both games of a doubleheader to the Blue Jays. All right, that does lead us to today's trivia question. We talked about the Phillies ending the longest modern losing streak in Major League Baseball history. The Louisville Colonels hold the Major League record with 26 games that was set back in 1889. Phillies have the modern record. Obviously, that is the National League record as well. So the trivia question today: what 2 American League teams share the longest losing streak in American League history? Let me know your thoughts on that. Let's have some fun with some trivia. Still not too late to book a trip to the Jersey Shore. I know it's not good right now with the hurricane, but still plenty of time left in summer. If you're going to the Jersey Shore, don't forget to hit up Beach Caddy. Use the promo code Jimbo to take 15% off your beach cart rental. And if you are squeezing a weekend, they'll move you in, move you out. You don't have to stress. So go to beachcaddy.app and use that promo code Jimbo to take 15% off. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, comment. All of that stuff helps the algorithm out. I appreciate it. It'd be great if somebody could do a review. And just another plea, if you know of a good tailgate for the crew that I have, looking for ease of service, we'll pay money. If it doesn't matter if there's whatever, if there's food, there's drinks, we're in. So hit me up if you know of any, or you run yourself. We're looking usually anywhere between 5 and 25 people, depending on the game. So I appreciate it, and thank you in advance. On this day in 2020, Phillies played their first game in Buffalo since 1885, losing both games of a doubleheader to the Blue Jays, playing in Buffalo due to COVID. 1986, Don Carmen, perfect through 8 innings. Game goes into extra innings, and Juan Samuel is the hero with a homer in the 10th to win it for the Phils. Steve Bedrosian came in and got the save for them as well. And then in 1961, the Phillies' losing streak of 23 games ended when they won Game 2 of a doubleheader against the Braves, and it did look like they were going to lose 24. So it took some 8th inning heroics for the Phils that day. Let me know your thoughts on the top teams in Phillies history since 2000. A trivia question: who holds the record for the longest losing streak in the American League? We'll have more on injury updates for the Eagles as they come in. Of course, we'll update you on the Phils as they look to sweep the Mariners, send them packing back to the great Northwest. But like I said, just keep it up. Pick your teammates up. Play like your hair's on fire. Playing, it's like a do or die. Every game's an elimination game. Go in there with that mindset, and I think they'll be all right. And it's late enough in the season. You can totally do this. Let's get hot going into the playoffs. Also, don't forget to let me know what you think about the Andrew Bynum situation. What if it had worked out? Would it have made a difference? Could the Sixers have done anything? I mean, I think it's certainly a possibility. It would have all, stop me if you've heard this before, would have all depended on Bynum's knees. Kind of sounds like somebody else I know who's a big man who has a ton of potential but can't stay healthy. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 20th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a hump day. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.